Hey, here's a little help on it's 5C on WebAssign, or it's 1.4 number 23. So just as an FYI, if you're looking at this, if you're asking about which one it is in the textbook, you'll see the 5, that's the one that's assigned on WebAssign. But if you go further out, hopefully you should see this number 1.4.023. So if you're referring to the textbook, then try to refer to it as this number here. So this is one of the examples. So it gives you this function as the function we're working with, f of y equals 3 minus square root of y. So what we're supposed to do is plug in the 9x squared. So you plug in the 9x squared here. Now, before we go any further, so let's just focus on this answer right here. 3 minus 9x squared. Now, if you think about it, before we simplify, think about what is the domain of the square root of 9x squared. We have to remember order of operations. So in the order of operations, whatever we plug in for x, we're going to square it first. So that means if I plug in a negative number, it'll be positive. If I plug in a positive number, it's going to be positive. So we can test it out. What if we plugged in 2? X is 2. So let's do that. 3 minus square root of 9 times, let's do negative 2, sorry, negative 2 squared. This is going to be 3 minus square root of 9 times 4, which is 3 minus square root of 36, which is 3 minus 6, which is a negative 3. Now, if I plugged it into here, right, so these are the same. The only thing is that the bottom one is simplified, right? We always like simplifying things. So remember, the domain before we simplified is all real numbers, or negative infinity to infinity, because we're not allowed to have negatives in the square root, but because we squared it first, it's fine. We can have any x value we want. So that has to reflect that here, right? Whatever comes out of the 9x squared, it's going to be positive right here because it's squared. So let's try it out. What if we plugged in negative 2? 3 minus 3 times the absolute value of negative 2. That's going to be 3 minus 3 times that's going to be a positive 2, right? Positive 2. Apologize for my writing. Let me redo that. So that'll change to a positive 2. That's 3 minus 6, which is a negative 3, right? So we got the same answer back. And so that is why you have to put the absolute value, right? You have to reflect that this is the original equation. The x will always be positive because we square it. So when we simplify it, we just notate that with the absolute value. So I kind of hope that helps out a little bit more as to why we have to add that positive, why we have to add that absolute value there. So hope that helps.